True peace, true peace, true peace. Happy holy day, peacemakers. Welcome to branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Temple of America. We're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Come link yourself with the family of nations by clicking that block of words at the top that say World Temple. Hope everyone's enjoying their Friday, their holy day. We're going to get started. Here today with this week's message. True peace, true peace, true peace. Shalom, shalom, hotep. So first thing first, I want to give honors to the divine creator. I want to give honors to the prophet. I want to give honors to the original staff of the prophet. I want to give honors to those that came before the prophet. Honorable Marcus Garvey. I want to give honors to those that came after the prophet. People such as Honorable Elijah Muhammad. True peace. All right. So we're going to open up with our divine supplication. Get today started. As y'all know, we begin our prayers and thinking by first using the name of the All. O Heavenly One, the Most High, who is sustainer of all the worlds, we do accept the duty you have laid on us to clean up the filth made by the West and its non-submitting fools. O my sustainer, we beseech you to keep your hand over us, to control the strings of the courses of our lives. Our sustainer, and if we do wrong, please show our divine blessings and forgiveness on us. You are the only one that can raise us, true followers of the news bearers, and in thy name, we carry on. All right. True peace. So let's go ahead and jump into our 19 affirmations. Let's jump into our 19 affirmations for this week. All right. These affirmations, they should be done with your family. Like I say all the time here every week, these affirmations should be embedded in your daily activity. We call them the daily affirmations of the children of loyalty of the children of the Elohim, the daily affirmation of loyalty of the children of the Elohim and what we accept as fact. So let's go ahead and jump into these affirmations as they state. We accept this fact the eternal laws of nature as revealed through science, past events, logic, and common sense. Revealed its right knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We accept this fact the highest laws of nature is the cooperation and harmony of all living things. We accept this fact our way of life as a means to the best end. We accept this fact that loyalty is the greatest of all honors and treason is the worst of all crimes. We accept this fact that what is good for the Holy Tabernacle is the highest virtue, and what is bad for the Holy Tabernacle is the ultimate evil. We accept this fact that the Holy Tabernacle is the finest and noblest organization for all humanity, created by circumstances, and the ancient and mystic order of Melchizedek is the noblest of fraternities on and above this planet. We accept this fact that creativity, love, and cooperation are the essence of success. We accept this fact that truth and facts are always and has always been the originator and creator of all success. We accept the fact that all worthwhile cultures and civilizations came about from the ancient Sumerians and Kemite Egyptians and the Anunnaki, or Elohims from the heavens, without which there would be none. We accept this fact that for the Holy Tabernacle to survive, expand, and advance, we need first of all a revolution of values and thoughts, which must start within each person by being truthful with themselves and about themselves. Therefore, we completely and categorically reject all myths, fictions, religions, and lies that have not been proven. That would include your heavens, your hells, your hellfire and brimstones, your horn and pitchfork devils, your winged angels, and your old man God character sitting on a throne up there somewhere. We deal strictly with facts. If you can't prove it, we don't want to hear it. That doesn't mean we won't listen to you. Just don't expect us to accept your beliefs by virtue of a title such as Reverend, Pastor, Deacon, Imam, Sheik, Rabbi, Minister, Theologian, etc. That is your sensationalism, and we deal with just the facts. We accept this fact that the only true revolution is a war of good against evil, right against wrong, fairness against unfairness, loyalty against disloyalty, sincerity against insincerity, honesty against dishonesty, and this wars fall within each person among the agreeable and disagreeable Elohims that make up your willpower. We accept this fact that the unity of our community and its success will only happen with cooperation with all involved. We accept this fact the total unification of all humanity on the basis of truth, that is, accepting people and races for who and what they are, respecting their culture, their languages, and their beliefs, and expect the same. We accept this fact that the human race, its biological and cultural heritage is now under attack by our own morals, our self-righteousness, our desire to control industry, and these things attack the very existence of humanity. We accept this fact that males as well as females are equal in all things and should be dealt with as partners in all matters. We accept this fact that no one race of people is better than the other. In fact, no one wins the race in racism. We accept this fact that communication between different people is the cure to the ignorance that breeds the disease hate. We accept this fact that a good and well-rounded education could prevent most of the ignorance that plagues the world. We accept this fact that the all is just that, the all. You can't take from the all. You can't add to the all. We are all within the all as one. That is our concept of what you call a deity. To the fulfillment of these facts, we children of the Elohim fail pledge our lives, our sacred honor, and our spiritual zeal. All right, y'all. So with that, we're gonna jump right into our Moorish prayer here. All right. All right. So y'all know how it go. Facing the east, feet at a 45-degree angle. 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up. All right. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through His holy prophet, Zabuwr. Amen. Alright, so we're going to jump into our Moorish divine constitution and bylaws, and we're going to get started for this week. Alright. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Symbol of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Symbol of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Symbol of America. Act 2. All means are to be open and closed properly according to the Circle 7 and love, true peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, true peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Symbol of America. No members to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister, on any occasion at all they may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government, and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Symbol of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, color folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Zabuwr the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Zabuwr, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Alright, y'all, so we're going to open up with our weekly reading for this week. Alright. So here every week in our space for World Temple, branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Temple of America, we open up with our weekly reading, which is chapter 25, starting out with chapter 25 of the Holy Qur'an, Circle 7. And we start out with that here every week, which is the precursor for all actions, intents, and behaviors. So we're gonna jump right into it. Alright, so as it states, chapter 25. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother had given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that binding you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brothers in adversity assist him, if thy sisters in trouble forsake her not. So shall the fortune of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, and your love to each other. All right, so as I stated, this is the precursor for all actions, intents, and behaviors of the royal indigenous peoples. So with that, we're going to jump into chapter 47 and chapter 48, which is also a part of our weekly reading in the Holy Qur'an, Circle 7. Chapter 47 is called Egypt, the Capital Empire of the Dominion of Africa. And it reads, the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the domain of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the father and the son. The domain of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest was his father's domain of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and all the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren, who sovereign from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and habitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across Great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the river Nile westward across the Great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. There's no one who is able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the prophet, Noble Ali, the founder of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. These laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and to create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet Noble Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before that great and awful day that is sure to come. The time is come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess its own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery, due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principle of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America, who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father, and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. So these are one of the chapters that we open up here every week with our readings before we get into the messages for our sermon and Koopas here weekly. So we're going to jump into this next chapter, chapter 48, called The End of Time and the Fulfilling of the Prophecies. And as it reads, the last prophet in these days is Noble Ali, who is prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways, and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days there came a forerunner of Jesus who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Joe Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God Allah. The Moorish Symbol of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc., that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of man under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We as a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earthland, which the Lord thy God Allah had given thee. Come, all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you're not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed that you will learn to love instead of hate. We're trying to uplift all of humanity. Come and link yourself with the family of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. True peace, Islam. All right, y'all. So we're gonna jump right into the message for tonight. Get straight to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. All right, with that. I want to go ahead and acknowledge some of the things we talked about last week, which was getting into a series, another series here. We're going to get another series going. And touching on some of these civil codes, things like that. Put some links in the chat last week that you all could go and check out the replays for. But I'm going to go ahead and dive in. Let Spirit do the work for this week. And the message that Spirit wants to deliver to us this week. All right. So, last week we discussed, like I said, some of those civil law things last week, getting into the difference between private law and public law. And we discussed having a monetary series. We talked about economics. We did an economic series. So it's only right we have a monetary series when we go into a series about the actual monetary system. And some of the things that I've learned along the way to really have the discernment that's needed, especially when it comes to understanding currency that affects the whole planet, essentially the whole of humanity. And so I'm gonna put some things together for that. See how many weeks we need to come together on for that series. We just finished up our Clear Vision Scroll series. I'm also thinking about including a series for the Holy Tablets. That might be a little drawn out series. Has 19 tablets in there. So that is a little long. And the book is about 1,000-something pages, so we may have to see about doing that series, but I know we're gonna incorporate it. But we discussed last week the major difference between private and public law. Public law dealing with government contracts, obligations, and things like that with the citizens and those of the government, and then private law dealing with contracts between individuals, which is the basis of your private and public law. And that gets into contracts, civil codes, things like that. True peace, happy holiday with it. Happy holiday. So I'm already did the opening and just actually getting started for the night. Started. But as I was saying, last week we discussed the difference between public and private. Private being those contracts between individuals, and public being contracts and obligations between the people and the government bodies, instrumentality agencies. So I wanted to open it up for us to jump in further here this week about those civil codes. Getting into those civil codes.
Yeah, I have Friday evenings off now, so I'm gonna start organizing myself to be able to handle these meetings and keep moving with the whole movement here.
True peace. Great news. We that Clubhouse added like a voice chat, so you can always voice chat me anytime. I'm trying to figure out how to use it first, but you can definitely always just send me a message, a voice message anytime.
Okay, good. Okay.
So it's not like you have to pick up the phone or anything like that. Just hit the button, leave a message, and then that way we can kind of still keep communications during the week and getting things done. But that's definitely gonna be something that we take advantage of, because I got some good news this week, current event, some real great news, and yeah, we definitely about to get things pumping. But as I left off last week, we're gonna touch on some of those civil law that we discussed last week. So, as I talked about last week, the civil code is basically the codification of private law, which relates to property, family, and obligation. So you have your civil procedure, same way we have our procedure here. So this is why I constantly reiterate every week, it's not about doing some paperwork process, it's about understanding civil procedure. So if you have a civil code, you have a civil procedure. Sometimes it's codified in the commercial law of those people. So the first civil code that most people refer to is the Corpus Juris Civilis, which is the code of Justinian, the Justinian Code, as we call it, or the Justinian Codex, this is the codification of Roman law. So going back to religions, you had the law of Manu, and in the Hindu law, you had the version of Manu, the law of Manu in Sharia law, the Mishnah or the Hikmah, and the Jewish law, and the canons of the Apostles, and the canon law. So codification technically has been around for a very, very long time. It's not something that is new. These codifications of the civil law. So the actual reemergence of codification came back around again through what's called the Age of Light, which is on the hot seat, up on the hot seat again, because we have a lot of information that has came out over the years, and people are arguing about different major points of history, especially concerning indigenous people's history, and a lot of it is being usurped, or it has been usurped, and now that a lot of more information has come about, you have pushback from people who usurped history, thinking it's okay to continue to do such and use reverse psychology and state that their history is being washed, or what they're using the term for now is blackwashed, from the whitewashing of history, as we all know it to be, the whitewashing of the image of Jesus, to the whitewashing of the image of Muhammad, and even Buddha, which we know were melanated people. So now this reemerging of the code, which came through the Renaissance and things like that during the Roman time of rulership, the code is based on creating these civil laws that are touching on all the different spheres of life that could be put into a conclusive system that's based on human rationality. And this is coming from the reemergence of these codes through the Age of Enlightenment, what we have here today, in today's time in America, and also throughout most of the modern world. So a lot of the codifications were first attempted in Germany and Austria, Prussia, Bavaria, And during the Saxon, which began to do the codification of their laws, so you had the Codex Maximilianus Bavarica Civilis of 1756 in Bavaria, which was done in the Latin language. And this is something that we gotta cover. We're gonna be covering as we continue to open up the Set the Record Straight book here also as well, and going into that. But a lot of these codes, we even have our own code. We have the New Ethiopian Codex, or the Novus Codex. That is the codification of our commandment laws coming from the known science, or the nature of nature science, which is the direction that the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Zodok, was taking us, into. So, with us being able to create our own laws and customs and international customary laws, we have our own codex for these nature commandments, these commandments of nature. So now, with the work that has been done, you have the codification. You have the codification, which is the process of collecting and restating the law of a jurisdiction, which gives you a legal code or a book of law. So the New Ethiopian Order is technically or the Novus Codex is technically a book of law, even though it reads as a somewhat of a non-fiction book and novel. It is actually a book of law, or a codex of law, because we go into the 38 laws of Ma'at, we go into the 10 Commandments, which is also in there, and the nature commandment, the commandment of nature. So when you codify something, that's giving the features of civil law a definement. You're giving definition. And that's essentially what the attempts were in that particular scroll. That was actually one of the first scrolls that I drafted. So when you codify something from the common law perspective of codification and law, that's the process of converting and consolidating laws that are made by a judge, or a particular case, what they call precedent cases that happened beforehand, right? And putting that into a statute of law. Or these are laws that were codified and put into what they call statutory law, which is written law that's pretty much passed by a body of legislators. So this has its opposite with customary law, the regulatory laws, and even oral law that are set in place. But customary laws is a legal custom, which we should be aware of here. It's a legal custom which is established based on the patterns of behavior that can be objectified or verified within a particular social set or social environment. So this is like a maximum that can be claimed as a defense, which is just an example. So that example is what has always been done and accepted by law. As we put into our codification is each time conditions are the same time, each time with condition, right? Using the quantum syntax grammar. So they are also sometimes considered unofficial law. So these are laws based on not what the books say, like the Bible and Christians and other religious dogmatic folks preach about the Bible and the scriptures. This is law. This is the law of people's behavior. What is the behavior norm? Not just what the book says, but what is the behavioral norm, the unwritten rules of those people, of that society? So what is the legal practice that has been observed? The standard that's been set in community. So now you have your codifications, your codes, and now with customary law, we should understand this to be the standard of the community. So most customary law deals with the standard of the community that has been established over long periods of time. And it could also get into international laws I talk about here a lot. And also universal laws. So this is how those universal laws also can be considered customary law or part of the ancient laws that we have also have adopted, and we have a temple bulletin for that well.
Pardon the body?
True peace.
The school, the new university school system, and then you're speaking about universal law, which when you say that, I'm thinking of, the culmination of different cultures or belief systems that talk about enlightenment. And, now that we're all pretty much on top of each other with instantaneous communications, I mean, Google Translate and all that, and I mean, we're right here for the different cultures. Is the university, is that kind of where people will be directed towards gaining that insight for universal law? And then does that bring it back down to earth to, restructuring even world law, and then that would seep into, I don't know, that's kind of, that's the dream in here, visionscaping.
Yo, Islam, your premises is on point, because now that brings in those laws have to also deal with the science, because now you have your basic, universal laws, the law of gender, the law of correspondence, the law of attraction, those core universal laws that have been codified over the time. We have adopted them through our temple bulletin, and now you have the actual sciences that affirms these codifications that go, in correspondence with that. So you have the science of astronomy and the stars, and you're getting off into astrophysics, things like that. So those formulas, those also become the standard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it will too. The more it grows, it's one of those seed-like entities to me.
Yeah, so that would be the importance of why everything would be, structured from the university level on down, and we start with an actual real scholastic universe for this particular way of understanding. So now you actually have a Moorish school of law, Moorish economic school of philosophy, or the other types of academies, prestigious academies that are all all in the umbrella of the global interdependent school district. And so then we take that down into understanding the universal laws, and then, like you said, the world laws, the laws of the world, which would include the universal laws, but then these United Nations, these laws that have been established by the United Nations, these declarations, things like that, and in context with the actual sciences of the earth, the astrodynamic, astrophysics, physics itself, basic physics of the earth, the atmosphere, getting into all that. And you're actually having courses and classes in it, and it's becoming its own thing in the university.
Yeah, like I was even thinking that a university should even have this course just as an option for people to take, and it's being promoted in whatever universities that are already out there. And on top of that, on top of this discussion, you made me think of I guess how a lot of these space companies are really wanting to get to other planets, because I think the big focus is mining and taking it to where the resources are gained outside of this planet, in this sphere. So it's really interesting, because I've been kind of apprehensive about the whole space traveling and going out into distant lands when we haven't even figured out how to peacefully work with this one.
It's a lot. And that's actually been a conversation that I was in this week through some of the Twitter spaces and the Clubhouse spaces that I kind of jump in and out throughout the week. And that was one of the things that actually, that came up in conversation and discussion. So it is a task, because not having the understanding here first and mastering this paradigm and growing into another paradigm versus us dealing with all the problems that we have, and we just taking the issues that we have from this place and taking that and terraforming another place and just creating even more chaos. So you definitely hit the nail on the coffin. I was in a Flat Earthers debate this past week, so that conversation definitely came up.
Yeah.
But just continue on here. These universal laws also include laws against piracy, slavery, things like that. So you have the laws that are supportive of the court rulings, as we just went over, or case law, things like that, and they add additional weight to the rule of law, or the rule as law. So whatever a judge rules upon, this is what you have. So when we state in the divine constitution and bylaws, the Grand Sheik and the Grand Sheik and the chairman of the Moorish Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law. This is what you're looking at. So the Moorish Temple of America has its governance structure, and like I said, we have a theocratic structure, and we understand how we are supposed to conduct ourselves. So we're getting into this aspect of things, which I don't think we need to do a long, drawn-out series for, but get into this aspect of things will help kind of get basic foundation for the things that people run into when it comes to this status correction process and things like that. So I just want to touch on it as we continue to go along here. I'm going to put the link to law in the chat, so people have that link of what I'm site reference from. So your statutory law, like I said, is those written laws that are passed by a body of legislators. So the customary laws become statutory laws when they're written down. So those behavior norms of the society, they become codified into law. So that unwritten law, that oral law, that regulatory law, which is the opposite of a statute, a law, those laws become codified by writing it down, putting it into a codification, codified. So it goes through that process. And this is the law that is propagated and talked about from the executive branch and what they call common law of your judiciary body of people, which for us that would be the adept of the adept chamber. So you have your private law, which are your organized statutes of law that are written down, organized by the subject matter, things like that. Then you have your private law, which, like I mentioned before, is between two individuals. And you could also have a private bill for private law. So a public bill is a proposed law which would apply to everyone within the jurisdiction. And then a private bill is a proposal for a law that only affects a single person, group, or area of people, such as a bill that grants people citizenship, or previously granting a person that is named on a document, a named person, as a legislative divorce, so a separation or an annulment, something like that. So once the bill is enacted, even if it's private, those bills become public acts and private acts. So you have your act. Those were these private bills, public bills. This is where your private act of the law comes from. So we're going into this because, as I've stated, we have to have the understanding of how the civil system works, what it's about, and really discuss what real civic is actually about. So we're actually going through what civics is understood to be. So that way, whenever people refer to saying, well, y'all don't teach these things in the temple and this, that, and the third, well, you have an actual recording of us going over what the actual the school of thought for civics actually consists of, and its different branches, and why everything starts with civil law or the civics of a community, of a people, where you have your civic pride and the nature and things like that of a people, of a community, and understanding how we govern ourselves and why these things become what they become, versus the perspectives from a political end of nihilism and anarchy and all these other different splitting groups and splinter branches of anarchy, because essentially there's no rule and no written down codex for us to actually understand what is against the law and what is lawful. So continuing on with private law could have a an event of relief from another law and grant, unique benefit, powers, things like that that are not available through the basic general law, or relieve someone from a legal responsibility for 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 something that is allegedly wrongful. So this right here, getting into the private law and the private acts and the public act, is where you get into those special immunities, which is how we as a body politic here at the Moorish Temple of America should understand how to communicate that which we're trying to express, especially when it comes to our immunities that we have when it comes to the general laws and things like that that are in place. If we communicated a lot of these things better, we have much better pivoting and build that relationship up from our body politic to the people. So
Pardon, buddy.
yes, sir. Islam.
Yeah, communication is quite the challenge this day and age. I'm kind of getting the same vibe here too, because like you just spoke about the the identifications and being able to transfer, but what is the view, or what is the view for the Moorish Science Temple in use of technology long term? And I'm not saying I know what the I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn what the neurological processing is. Knowing it from the roots. But I look at I spent a lot of time in my youth around computers, and I also had the park, a park that you could kind of disappear into the woods for a few hours at a time in suburbia where I grew up. And both of those kind of gave me an interbalance between nature and the nature of technologies. And the technology of nature doesn't compare, the technology, the silicone, these devices doesn't compare to the nature of actual technology if you just spend time in nature. And people know this, but it's not really defined in the capitalistic environment. And it's almost like the capitalistic environment is that machine trying to consume, and it speeds up when you give it more power. And that's what technology is with that machine. And there's not necessarily, it's not a track, it's not like the world is on a railroad track here. And there's also been things that have happened in the past that have negatively impacted people's. And so there's a major point in history happening now where a lot of people are displaced, and it's just simply because of lack of a proper way of communicating the right standing. And I don't think the world has ever really discussed that with the technologies. True piece.
Yes. So there is a piece of literature coming from the prophet Lawiy that talks about us being 500 years ahead of time, technologically wise. And so it's the same thing here today. So when it comes to having that technological discussion, it's just for us. It should be a matter of coming together, as I talk about here all the time, coming together through the different parts of the movement of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the different parts of the divine and national movement, and these branch temples, figuring out a way to have a unified message of the things that we would be coming together about, as far as which technology systems we would actually be using as a unified front. So we have to also take in the perspective that there's different bodies of the movement, different branches of the movement, different moving parts of the movement itself. So you have to look at that the same way you would look at another agency or instrumentality of U.S. government. Some municipalities, they use .org. Not all municipalities use .gov. Some choose to use it, some choose not to use it. Then you have the incorporated, you have the unincorporated areas of the states, and some choose to go by different rules and regulations for their municipality, their local municipality. So same thing is going to happen with technology. Some municipalities or governing bodies of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we're going to choose to use one system. Some of us might use Twitter. Some of us might use YouTube. Some of us might use, QuickBooks or whatever other accounting system. So it's going to vary in that way, but still have a way to kind of create the communication, the line of communication, a standard line of communication between all these bodies. That way we could reach a unifying consensus of things. But as far as the technology thing goes, we are some of the most advanced people, but having this particular size subset of things kind of get taken care of, which is dealing with governance and government, and being understood that we have to come together as far as that, so we would actually make the consensus about these different things, what technology we're going to use. So for that question, it would be more of concerning that, because we don't have an issue with being technologically behind or technologically advanced. Our issue is coming together in a unified front and a body of corporates, and how to function with those technologies, and what is going to be the standard of communication for us. Which also leads to why we kind of going over the things we're talking about tonight, because we have to touch on the different parts of actual civic, not what is known as ghetto, what we normally call ghetto scholarship. Today I seen something called cell block D education, which is
it's rampant. I might have a little bit of that myself.
Yeah. So this is what helped clears up things, going through the study of civics in an academic way. And this is something that we're supposed to go over more in the Sunday gathering, but I'm actually doing a lecture or sermon for us on it tonight. And I started it out with last week, so I don't necessarily want to create a series for it, for this I'm trying to say this civic portion of our weekly sermons, but having it put on record, at least to say, right, that gives us something that we can make reference to, come back to in its own record, to understand, hey, this is what actual civics consist of. This is what actual civics is about. This is what civics actually gets into. This is the true academic knowledge of civics. You can look it up for yourself. You can start to do the research on it for yourself. So with that, I want to go ahead and just continue this last little bit here, kind of where we left off. You do have the differences between private law or a private bill, which is not the same as a private member's bill, which is introduced by a private member of the legislature or a member of parliament, rather than by the executive ministry, whether that's the Commonwealth, other different forms of government, or the collective body of governing ministers, like we have here with the Moorish Science Temple of America. So in the United States, we have our private law, such and such, and our public laws such and such. And these public bills, they are the most common type of laws in the United States. Which one of those laws we're always making reference to is the I think Public Law 97-280 for the year of the Bible, which that is a public law that we make reference to here all the time, stating that the Bible is law in this country. It's codified law, country law. These become customary laws in this country. So those customary laws could be enacted or invoked in a legal procedure or proceeding. So this is why we're going over these things, like I said again, for us to get some real insight on the true understanding of civics. So remember, a private bill could also be something such as a divorce, documenting a divorce. But public is concerning something between the people and the government, and it went from that state of being a private bill, well, I mean not a private bill, but a proposed bill for the public, and it became public act. Same thing with private, from a private proposed bill, and it became a private act. So this is a lot of what you see, like we just read, when it comes to the United States law. So you have the laws, statutes, ordinances, and code. So these codes, they go all the way back to ancient Sumeria. The code of Enuma, going back to the BC days, and this is where you get the law of Hammurabi, or the code of Hammurabi, which he took those laws and pretty much named it after. So you have the Lex Duodecim Tabularum, and then you have the Corpus Juris Civilis, which is the Justinian Codex. So you had the law of the 12 tablets, as they call them, that came before the Justinian Codex, and that's when Alexander the Great and them went into ancient Egypt and learned from the ancient Egyptians. And this was the foundation. The laws of the 12 tablets were the foundation of Roman law, going all the way back to 450 BC, where it talks about the plebeians and getting into the benefits of the republic, the pontifices, which are basically your higher elite clergymen, your upper class priests and ministers. So when we get into these codexes in history, especially us doing things from a place of diplomacy, this is what actual diplomacy is about, is getting into the ancient history and understanding the structure. So the law of the 12 tablet gives you insight on how Roman government was governed, the structure of their Roman society was governed, and their structure of doing things. So basically, it's called ancient Roman law. And then came the Justinian and those Justinian code later on down. So let's continue on. Even in China, you had the Tang code, which goes back to the early 600 AD, early 600. So there's a lot of different structures of codexes throughout history, throughout the whole entire planet. I'm not gonna go into each and every one of them. We'll be here all night, just going through all the different codex. So, do want to get into civil law, which we talked about last week a little bit. Got to touch on more of this week. So you have your different areas of private law, which get into business law, like I mentioned earlier, agricultural law, or what they call commercial law, but also property law, family law, which gets into marriage, as we talked about the private bill, civil unions, divorces, your spousal abuse, child custody, things like that, succession, which gets into estate planning, probate, and wills, labor law, transport law, and international private law, as I'm always mentioning here, tort law, things like that. So this is what makes up your private law. So private international law, not international private law, right, which is the opposite. This is also called the conflicts of law, or conflict of law, which is the set of rules or laws a jurisdiction applies to a case, transaction, or other occurrence that have connection to more than one jurisdiction. So this body of law deals with three branches or three main topics. Jurisdiction, which are rules regarding when it's appropriate for a court to hear a case. Then you have foreign judgments, which is dealing with rules by which a court in one jurisdiction mandates compliance with a ruling of a court in another jurisdiction. And then you have choice of law, which addresses the questions of which substantive laws will be applied in case. And this can arise from issues in any private law context. So private international law gets into laws that, as it states, deal with multiple branches of jurisdictions. And you naturally have that when you're talking about codexes that go all the way back to ancient Sumeria and being governed by that codex, or Hebraic codex, things like this, and understanding how to implement them into a modern day pledge proceeding, things like that, or even when it comes to the other areas of private law and how we incorporate those areas into those other areas of law. So, as I talked about last week, something that we should really get into here, the difference between civil law and civil code, which gives you the basic understanding of why we go into civics here, which gives you the basis of your whole entire legal system or your law. And a lot of lawyers study some of the basics of it. They don't really go too much in depth because they have other courses for that, like the political theory courses that a lot of people get into that kind of go over the political sciences and philosophy, which gave birth to a lot of these civic laws or civil law, civil code. So as you see the origin of them, a lot of them even go back to what's in the Bible, because Code of Hammurabi is mentioned in the Bible, and a lot of the commandments of the Bible is also in alignment with the commandment of Hammurabi.
You said that was based off of an earlier figure?
Yeah, Hammurabi, if you ever heard of Hammurabi. Or Unamu before Hammurabi. Namu.
Is that the Temple of and all that? Is that the
that would be the temple of Ube in ancient Sumeria, ancient as I talked about that a couple weeks back when we went into Pangea and Lemuria and all that. When we had that
I remember. Yeah.
So that was the temple that was dedicated to who they call Anu in ancient Sumeria, and in Hebrew Elohim or Elohi, and in Arabic Allahu or Allahi. So the knowledge from then to now been carried on from, like I said, the Bible, the scriptures, and that codex from Namu was adopted by Hammurabi, and him being the Melchizedek of that day and time, and taking the information and continuing forward. This is why it's important to get into this information without turning it into some type of Hollywood story, because essentially what we're talking about is the passing of the Hakim, the wisdom, El Hakim, the knowledge, the wisdom that goes back to Tahuti from ancient Egypt, or Hermes from ancient Greece, and getting into, as we discussed here a couple weeks back, the hermeneutics and how to actually interpret these things. So this is why we have to go over the actual civil laws and civil code, so that way we have a perspective on what it is that we're studying and what we're looking into. So with civics, there comes a lot of different branches of things that we got to look into. You got acculturation, you got you got citizenship education, you got civic engagement, which is one thing you talk about, community, etiquette, global civics, which is one of the things we get into. We get into global civics, global citizenship education. We are a global citizenship school. History of citizenship, the law and order of things, legal awareness, legal socialization, participation or decision making, which is a part of also civic engagement, the political sciences, the public space, like we're on a space now, they call it Twitter space, public space, socialization, and spatial citizenship, voting, civic education, and other areas of the globe. So there's a lot of different branches of things that you can get into when it comes to civic. You'll find that on the civics link that I put in the chat last week here for this recording on the chat Clubhouse. So I do want to give my people at YouTube that'll be listening in from YouTube. We haven't got the recordings back on just yet. We still being patient with that and make sure we can get into downloading again our recordings and then taking it over to YouTube. But with that, we're gonna be making sure that we get that information to the people. But if you're just listening, even if you're just listening from Clubhouse or you're listening online from the desktop version of Clubhouse, either or, you can just kind of follow along. Wikipedia, the civics, and the other links that I put in the chat from following along from the things that have been discussed. So this is going to be the last thing I go into, and we're going to close it out for the night. Pooper.
You real quick, you had mentioned last service that maybe do some video calls instead of just Clubhouse. I'd be open for that, you know. If it's just us two here most of the time.
Islam. Yeah, we gonna keep Clubhouse up, but we will be doing like a YouTube live or more so that way you all be able to actually see the things that we're looking over, and we actually can gather up there. So I'm not sure if we're gonna do it straight through Telegram, where we can share a video and then I can share the screen from there. But we're gonna figure that out, work that out, how we do it. I do have the streaming software and stuff like that already ready to go for us. So we're gonna work on that as we continue to go. But let me touch on this last little bit here, and then we can jump right into turning. So the last thing I want to get into is global civics, which we have Civics 101 course, which gets into world civics. Global civics proposes to understand civic in a global sense as a social contract amongst all world citizens in this age of interdependence and interaction. So this is what we're actually teaching here through the Global Interdependent School District, hence the GISD. So the dissemination of the concept and us that pretty much disseminated, we define it as the notion that we have certain rights and responsibilities toward each other by the mere fact of being human beings on Earth for all humanity. So we're getting into humanitarianism, the basis of humanitarianism, and it not just being a word that we say in an unwritten law or things like that. So it states the advocate of the notion attempt to demonstrate that it is possible to imagine global civics. According to this notion, in an increasingly interdependent world citizens need a compass that will frame mindset on a global scale and create shared consciousness and sense of global responsibility related to specific world issues, such as environmental problems and nuclear proliferation. So this is why we had those current event discussions, and we look toward them kind of getting more unique, more sophisticated as we continue to go along here, and we get more like minds understanding that which it is that we're getting into. So global civics was first coined allegedly by Hakan Altaneh, who is a non-resident senior fellow with the Global Economy and Development Program at the Brookings Institution. He did a working paper that was published in 2010, And his concept built upon the tenet of global ethics, global justice, and world citizenship. So this is someone who put out some documentation concerning this before anyone was getting into global citizenship, global civic. Which I think in some of these colleges you may actually find thought pieces on this before, or even before that. There's a lot of discussions and documentations, theses that have been actually put out about global citizenship throughout the 1900s. So we want to keep an open mind for that too as well. But it also goes into the role of universities, which is similar to the question that was posed by Noble Jonathan here earlier. And it talks about the proponent of global civic suggesting that university and their campuses play a vital role in spreading a thorough understanding of how today's global world functions and contributes toward preparation of future generations for life in an interdependent world. So it states this view calls for a visionary university that could successfully provide their students with the forums and tools to discuss and figure out what their responsibilities are to their fellow human beings, which is essentially what we talk about here. So this is definitely points that we would agree upon.
I was just chuckling. That's what's missing in high school or middle school at that.
Right. So as we create the jurisdiction for the GISD, that'll continue to trickle on down to these high schools that we set up locally, because the project that we're building is a it's a global project. Our mission, focus, and focal is global humanity. So that culture that we create, those customs that we create, those traditions that we create, that'll trickle down to our other high schools and things that come after the initial work that we're doing here. So we are also progenitors of bringing in this wave of thought. So as much as, go ahead,
Islam, yeah. This is like making me think of like a universal basic income right now, because I know that there's a lot of jobs, and like even with homeschooling, there's just a lot of people who they can see it, that there's better ways to go about doing things. But there's a lot of people who are in positions, and the way that our civics have functioned is still based on a world that has been whiplashed into using smartphones. So yeah, true piece.
So it states that since 2014, the concept of a global civic university has been developed by Te Haringa Waka of Victoria University, Wellington. And it states the university views civic engagement in a contemporary global context, noting that as well as engaging with the Wellington region, the university contributes to New Zealand, to the Asian Pacific region, and to the world. The university's vice chancellor, Professor Grant Guilford, has defined global civic universities as those in which, so they have these points here. So these points are the virtuous cycle connecting great universities with healthy communities is actively fostered in a sustainable and intergenerational manner. Community engagement is a core function alongside teaching and research, and is seen in both a local and global context. The university's international agenda is one of partnership, linking the local to the global and the global to the local, and the provision of knowledge to enhance global governance and global common. Public good values dominate over market value. Securing the intellectual potential put at risk through experience and disadvantage is a collective priority. Research quality and research impact are co-priorities. Ranking with the world's best university is the shared expectation. So this is essentially speaking to what the new university was established for. And it was actually established in 2014. So they could say that Te Haringa Waka is the initiator of the concept, but we also, like I said, could be thrown in there as progenitors of this thought concept, and it's proven by us having a new university and a documentation through the Novus Codex going all the way back to 2014-15, as well as the blueprint orientation that I did, the solution and the Noon Project book. So we also have the Noon Project or the Noose Project blueprint, or what we call the Black Print orientation book. So this documentation of a global civic school has been something that not just us, but people across the world have obviously have put some deep thought into. So we're not the only one thinking this. And then this is something that will require contribution from all humanity. Now, I do think from the things that have happened globally, indigenous peoples should be the priority of these things because of what's happened over time in history. And you have a lot of things to get into when it comes to that. But I actually just left a discussion earlier today about these type of issues. But you have a lot of things that are changing right now in real time, and arguments that are being hashed out in real time when it comes to this whole global situation that we have on our hands today, and the systematic racism and all the issues that have been created, reparations, restitution, and things like that. So we do need to take into heart the Declaration of Indigenous Peoples, and really take those things into account, and how there's been a push for the systematic racism in that caste system over the acknowledgement of these declarations and things like that. So global civics gets into cosmopolitanism, global citizenship education, oneness of humanity, and universal value, which it could kind of get into a whole boatload of other things. But that's getting into concepts of morality, aesthetic preferences, trait, our human endeavors, and our social order of things. And with that, this is why we have the new Ethiopian order that we have drafted. So with your social order, you have social structures, institutions. You have ancient, feudal, capitalist, things like that get into that economic conversation series. And just the other study, sociology and political science. So this is why we have to be participants in the conversation, as I mentioned during that series, and really get into it, really get into the structure of the work. But as far as global citizenship education, GCED, we are a part of that structure of as the Moorish Science Temple of America branch temple number 24, as I am a global ambassador for being a global citizenship school, which we're teaching global citizenship here in the branch temple. So I just wanted to make sure we touch on that for this week. Close on the sermon, but make sure we get into that knowledge here is being paid us through the guys of the Moorish Temple of America, the Divine Movement, branch temple number 24. And as I state here now all the time, we are a divine and global movement, and our mission is to uplift all of humanity and teach the gospel to the sons of men in the gospel. So let's get into this room reset, and next we're gonna jump right into our current event. So welcome to branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Temple of America. We are a global branch temple of the Moorish Temple of America. We're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Come link yourself with the family of nations by clicking that block of words at the top that says World Temple and become a guest member. So with that, we're going to jump right into our current events for this week. I hope we have been bringing all value, and let us know by leaving comments on our YouTube and our past sermons and lectures. And with that, I hope Clubhouse hurry up these are recorded downloads so that we all from YouTube space could join in and have our people from there join in and listen. But the floor is open. We will be jumping into our current event segment here for tonight. And I do have a piece of good news, but I want to, Brother John got some contribution he want to make prior. But with that, True Peace Islam. All right, so I want to give you time to chime in, brother. But we do have the conversation of reparations at hand. We have a potential new candidate in the election, the presidential election, which there's the potential that Kamala Harris might be running for president in this, or putting herself in the race. There's for that a statement this week concerning that. This week or last week, I'm not sure, can't remember.
Yeah, I saw Nancy Pelosi resigned or something like that too. That's interesting switch there. That's a good, transition.
Yeah, and they also asked for Donald Trump to be Speaker of the House for the Republicans. So you got a lot of things happening this week. Like I said, we keep our eyes on the political race of things. I do have some good news in regards to us being monetized on YouTube, which is the link that's pinned at the top of the room for those who come in and listen to the replays. We are now being monetized on YouTube. Well, we have that underway. We basically reached our mark of 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 to 1,000 subscribers, and we're working our way up. So continue to share, and got some ideas later on down the road. Like I said last week, to create multiple streams of income, as we talked about last week, and just revenue for us community, and just really build that community of creators, content creators that come in not just through social audio networking, but also through virtual or video logging and virtual blogs, doing blogs as well, but creating the content that needs to be there for us as a community, even podcasts, creating podcasts. So we want to be able to set that precedent, as we've been doing here for a couple of years. I've actually switched from video blogging, being on video, to doing social audio, and might eventually jump back into the video again. Just haven't had the space set up to do such, which is nothing to sound like I'm procrastinating about. It's just all the other things that we've been having to cover kind of keep us spread thin. So I don't want to spread us too thin to where we can't center our focus and make sure things that need to be done. So with that, we want to go ahead and give ourselves some pats on the back, reach that. But I've also learned some things about building and growing on the platform too as well, and just kind of brought back some things that's been in my years and utilizing that as a point of pivoting with whatever it is that we like to do and take up as an endeavor. So, not sure if you got any other contributions that you want to make or you want us to get into. But
yeah, just as a little add-on to that, if that's all right. The AI, has been kind of still part of the conversation, but I was able to get a little bit out of it, and I know, excuse me, kind of trying to figure out how to start here. White papers, like, because of participating with the temple here, that's when I started learning about white papers and orchestrating a business, and then the global dynamics of things. But I was able to work with the ChatGPT and kind of like put thoughts down and kind of back and forth and constructed a form of a white paper, and I was able to put that up on my personal blog for the Ethos of Terra Soul community blog. And that's just like, it's just kind of for me like a beta form of using AI, but I think it's a great way to orchestrate your ideas for running a business or creating a business outline without having to do all the manual typing yourself. So there's some really cool aspects of it. I know people be saying it's dangerous, but I think that it could be really a viable thing, especially for the university even, or this whole project, But like AI, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know.
Islam, I definitely agree with that, especially with a lot of things that we got to with data protection and just how we see ourselves as far as the development, the urban development or civil engineering of our community. There was a lot of technology that was used by the creator of Microsoft, and the things that he has done even before the year 2000. A lot of the things that he had in his house before the year 2000 until now, and we're talking about Bill Gates here. So a lot of these AI technology could be, the standard into how we continue to do things today, especially with our understanding of their uses now and how to create better user cases for them, now. So I definitely see it as something that, we're definitely going to be diving into, especially from the financial aspect of things, from where we decide to place our investment as a community. Because once we continue to grow with creating these multiple streams of revenue, we're gonna have to have a place where we put these investments into. And so that's one of the things that is constantly going to be something that comes up. Which AI that we're going to choose to support. Which AI developments should we choose to participate in, like Chat GTP. You could also create your own, AI projects. You got people that are creating AI television shows. Just it's all AI, is no humans, just straight AI produced. So
Right, which takes away from, like, every industry right now is under fire because of technology, and all the industries have been working to build it. So it's like, it's not even about a sentient being speaking to us, and it's about the actions of building what we built to be able to not have to work. I mean, that's kind of where it's like, it looks like an end of a road to a lot of people, and I know a lot of people are having faith in something greater than themselves, and I also know that greatness is in each and every one of us too. So, true peace, Islam.
Allah's great. So with that, I'm also glad you brought up the AI thing, because I think we did mention it here before during one of these past few current events. But you have the AI robot, the police robot, you got the dog, the AI dog, you got the AI like scooter thing, and it's just a bunch of stuff that's coming out from the police department that also get the AI.
Like a lot of guys spending some money.
Right. But it's like you said, we have to kind of monitor and see where this thing is going for the future, and how how it's going to be integrated in the projects that we participate in, but also into society. Because of course, we know from all of the TED talks and forums and conversations that have been had on AI technology, this thing could kind of go either way, as far as whether it's being used for good or being used with malicious intent. And we know, the things that can come about with using AI for malicious intent. And just seeing the AI robots for the cops, and eventually, the AI being placed in a lot of these things that we use today in the retail space, especially like the restaurants and your grocery stores. Those those advancements that are coming about, that's going to change a lot of things. So, but it's also going to be displacing a lot of people, or disruptive toward the labor industry. So we definitely got to monitor how these things come about. But we got to, essentially, like I'm saying, just be aware of AI being used for malicious intent, because there is that, and that gets into some of the movies and things like that we've been watching.
Well, I think that needs to be discussed, because there's like two discussion like that. There's two different forms of how it's harmful, and we're getting kind of. I think a lot of people are so afraid of the potentiality, even to the point of maybe magnetizing that we're neglecting each other because of its arrival, because that's what we've been building. It's like, that's the primary thing that, it's like, why else would we have supermarkets, or why else would we have electricity grids, or why else would we have like all these different things that have evolved over time to get better and better and better to now, so
right.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
No, it was like I personally put myself out here years ago, and I'm grateful for the Moors and the movement, the World Temple, because like I put myself out here with the whole social media and awareness of these things growing up with computers, and I give a lot of the credit of awareness to my father and his compassion and his awareness of the different layers going on in life, and how to temper your attitudes about how, even teachers be approaching you, and, you need to do all this math, with the pencil and a piece of paper, and, but the computer can do it this quick, and so, like, he had to learn to, he's been, like, it took me years as his son to figure out that, he's that kid that was arguing with the teacher about the calculators, and he had to learn to be quiet and sit back, and then I was born, and he's had to really sit back. And so it's like I give a lot of credit to the love to my father when it comes to how to handle technology. Sometimes you just have to be able to sit back and not let the technologies rule you. God is greater,
Right. There's a movie that's out called The Creator. I don't know if you heard of it, but definitely check that out. And True Peace, Shalom, Hotep, all those good things. Amor, I see you down there. Happy Holy. That is a thing, because you have to balance out the whole dependency on the technology, and that could weaken us in certain aspect when we're looking to actually move forward and develop and advance as human. Now, we don't want to get into all this quirky transhumanism stuff, but there is a spiritual development and growth that needs to be done and continued on. So we don't want to get too technocratic, in our society and just custom. But the whole space for malicious intent or use of these technologies, we do have to be aware of those things, especially with the disruption that could come with, the jobs and just, the governance of our society. Because, like I said, we looking at the movies that get put out about these robots, and then, having the whole potential of them becoming sentient. Now, we know this is not the case, because the tech is basically essentially a digital copy of the sentient being that programmed it. But we do have to be aware of those things. But we have to also be able to push past the fears that come along with the growth and the advancement. Because a lot of these people that are blowing the horn and the trumpet about, AI is evil and this, that, and the third, don't really get into the other opposite narrative of AI also being a part of advanced development of a species and a people, and an advancement of intelligence of those peoples. So that's also the conversation that, we have to be able to kind of balance out with just, I would say, awareness, not necessarily fearing the things, but the awareness and what you choose to participate in, because some of the AIs could, lead you into the malicious intent and usage of developing AI for weaponry systems and things like that, which are essentially common, and they could still be put to, good defensive uses and protection. And like you mentioned earlier, us going into space, they have AI for that, for monitoring the emotional behavior, emotional intelligence, and all those different things for those that are potentially going to go out into space. But, we have to, like I said, keep that balancement with understanding that this is also a part of the development and advancement of us as a species of people. And, as we continue to go along to the whole so-called, fourth dimension, fifth dimension of things, there's going to be advancement. And these are the advancements that come along with it. It's meant to make life easier for us, but not to make us dependent or stupid, or docile as a human species. So,
I think I think the docile is the what we don't want, but I think it's a great fix for apathy. You know what I mean?
Islam.
Like Islam. I just don't know, like, something to throw out here for planting a seed, but orchestrating, business ideas or white papers to be invested in, and the long view of that, or just getting people involved. I mean, that seems like it would be the first steps in that direction. It's here now.
Right, you're right. And that's where the role of the university comes back into play. Because like I mentioned before, you can do blogs in the university, things like that in the university to create your own wiki pieces, thought pieces for our own, you know, um, you know, digital encyclopedia. So those things could be done and, you know, should be done, should be something that we put our focus on, because it's going to take those people that have the perspective of thinking logically, as we pretty much propagate from here, from branch temple number 24 or the Moorish Science Temple of America. Because when we get into all the different forms of religions and cultures, everybody from every background, every shape, every color has something that could be contributed to the shaping of this global new sphere that is coming, you know, more active as we continue to go into these higher dimensions. And this is the conversation that, you know, as I mentioned earlier, that needs to be had or kept in mind, because as you're in and out these different spaces that are having these you know, these similar discussions and conversations about this, they're not pivoting from a, you know, a central thesis based on nature itself. It's just based upon research, you know, as opposed to the information that we're giving. This is something that's being pivoted from a actual science, the documented science, a genre of science, and continuing on developing that genre of science, and this basically the science of nature itself. And so keeping that, you know, that thought frame or that new logical thought frame, you know, it pretty much helps you, you know, navigate the thought spaces and basically create your own thought pieces, you know, as you go along, and be able to extract the information from just the different spaces that you might find yourself in, or conversations that you may find yourself in. So this is the power behind the university, getting involved with the university, and, you know, what we propagate here as our doctrine of wisdom through the Moorish Science Temple of America, and our branch temple in particular, focusing and centering on the study of newlogy and new logical thought, because that is the science of divine intelligence, the science of understanding. And that gets into the science of sciences, or the intelligences of intelligences. So this is why, you know, we pivot with that. But coming in and listening and just, you know, taking notes, or tuning in and keeping up with us from YouTube, you know, wherever you may be listening from, you know, this is why it's a little different, maybe boring, but this is information that is actually being delivered and transmitted through the universe itself, for, you know, just keeping that balancement within the universe. Because a lot of people get that information just based on, you know, research, things like that, which is not a bad thing, but it also is not pivoting the divine science of nature, nor these ancient, you know, customs, principles, and ancient intelligences, you know, not just some ancient philosopher, but actual, you know, ancient intelligences of nature. This is why you find in every culture the same, you know, same deities based on the wind, based on the water, based on, you know, this part of nature, that part of nature. So once we get to that portion of understanding that we are all, you know, we're all of universal value, and we all contribute to the social order of things, and we, you know, keep at least the open minded about that. And we all contribute to the social order of things, and we, you know, keep at least the open minded about that. No matter what side of politics you're on, whether you're Democrat or Republican, but at least keep a new logical frame of thought, which allows you to actually look into the origins of these things. What is the intent of these origins? You know, so that way when you're hearing the modern day conversation and the modern day definitions of what these things are, you'll be able to keep that balancement between what something started out as, what's its original intent, what's the original spirit of it, the like the civic pride of things, like we talk about here a lot, and, you know, what you can get from the outtake and extraction from what this person or that person is saying, and also provide, you know, a new logical precept that everybody could chew on, which is, basically a transmission. You're learning how to naturally tap into the divine intelligence and really actually learn about the length, the width, and the height, or the 2 + 2 = 4 of the divine intelligence. So I'm glad you brought up the whole AI conversation. We do got to get into our weekly readings from El's Holy Qur'an for this week. So I want to go ahead and close this out from the current events segment. But true peace, Noble Jonathan, I do appreciate the contribution. And like I said, we are on our way to monetization. For YouTube, that's the link that's pinned at the top. We've reached our 1,000 subscribers and our 4,000 watch hours. So we are officially going to be monetized. We just got to get the okay. I got to connect our AdSense account, things like that. And then we'll be moving on to the next YouTube account, growing this YouTube account, and then branding more YouTube accounts, and those that want to get involved with me and continue to do so. I actually had another temple member here that, that's here with us in spirit, that we already started on that process. But more content creators from the community. We bring in more content creators. They contribute to the space. The space is definitely open to contributing to creating this content and creating this community. Happy holiday, Amora. Troopers, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a statement on the AI, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am. Happy holiday.
Happy holiday. I feel like the AI is like the apple. It's like something that could be beneficial and nourishing, but it could also be, if it's rotten, it could be a detriment. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so with any tool, like a chainsaw, you can use it to cut the lumber, or you could use it, the chainsaw, to create a deep slumber. And unfortunately, when powerful tools are given to the wrong people, the aftermath is scary. But when the right tools are given to the right people, the aftermath is very exciting. And so life is what you make it, truly.
That sounds like one of our sister Nobles from on. I don't know if
For sure.
it's like I know that voice anyway. It's
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, I definitely appreciate that contribution. It's a tool. You either use the tool, lose the tool, and you put the tool in the wrong hand. Like handing a gun to a baby. Somebody definitely gonna get hurt. But if you put the tool and give that person some training, and you're dealing with discipline, you give it to a disciplined person. You can protect people. Or if you give a match, to a person, you can either burn the house down or you can create some good barbecue and we all eat good. So, when it comes to these developments, like I said, we definitely got to keep our eyes open, participate in it. And it's going to come, real pertinent to us, especially as we continue to grow. We're going to be bringing in these multiple streams of income as we continue to go and kind of pivot from the content creation, advertisement, marketing, and of course we got other people outside Temple that's part of the society that they still working and working on their contributions to things. But our focal as far as here in the Temple is making sure that we at least have that multiple stream of income, creating that community of content creators, and really get this this community going. Because as I mentioned over the past couple weeks, you have your Taj Tariq Bays, you have your Black Magics of the conscious community, you have your Phil Valentine's, Bobby Hemmings, etc. But we never capitalized on the movement that's happening right here in front of our eyes today with all of these podcasters that came out of nowhere, and they're capitalizing, they're coming together, they're working together. A lot of actors on YouTube. You have a lot of famous YouTube actors that are kind of crossovering between being YouTubers and being actual, mainstream, TV, from TV screen actors, or even to, to the big screen actor. So it's something that we need to be doing, which we should have been doing, because we are the progenitors of getting into podcasting from straight live from the streets with Brother Sonetta and the conscious community. But as we know through what happened, we never grew past that, and we really need to create that community of content creators that we work together, support one another, and really help each other grow, because there's a lot that can be done through group economics, and there's a lot that needs to be done through group economics. And just seeing the example of what's already been done, and what needs to be done, we know what needs to be done, but we won't be the generation to say, well, this needs to be done and that needs to be done, when we're 60, 70 years old, and we're reflecting on the things that we're doing now from our 20s and our 30s. So let's step up to the plate. The link that's for the YouTube is at the top of the room for those that come in listening to the replays. A lot of the replays that are on here are now on there. So if you made contributions, you are definitely on there. And as we continue to grow, we're going to be creating more channels, like I said, and just bringing those content creators together so we could kind of get into that, had that conversation during our current event segment, or during other meetings outside of Clubhouse, or on other platforms, however we want to do it. Eventually we're going to get into video, as Sister Noble Simone over there been putting up our that good foot up our butt about doing that for a while. So, but it's definitely coming. We getting things like that prepared, and we pretty much have the plan for what we need to do. Slow progress is better than no progress. Islam.
I was just saying, one day at a time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, slow progress is better than no progress. So,
that's right.
Yeah. In addition to what you said about the AI, and like what we're talking about with the whole white papers, like, I think people are wanting to use it, and then they're trying to come up with ideas, and so like now is the time to kind of start reaching out to people, for sure, because I think people need to practice. Yeah, the right people too, right? And like I've been kind of just speaking out, trying to let people figure out who that is,
Wait, but what are the white papers? Catch me up.
The white papers, I don't know, like everybody should have a white paper for their online business. I see what you were saying.
He's just saying, go ahead, John.
Yeah, so like,
go ahead, John.
I was only recently introduced to what a white paper was, and then I was like, okay, so I can create a white paper. But when I went through and spoke to the AI, I was like, hey, I want to create a white paper, and it's like, okay. And I was like, well, what is a white paper? And it kind of explained it to me. I was like, all right. And then I kind of started putting ideas with that together. And then within like 30 minutes, I had this orchestrated, elaborate piece, and it expresses itself in a way. And I love that it's on my blog that's kind of like, it has me skateboarding or whatever, where it's not really serious. But I could see someone who doesn't have much can take that and make something that's really elaborate, but maybe not be able to meet that quality, and then people are lost in this space of really nice wording and all these promises, but no actual solutions at all. You get it? So it's like having
people not looking for themselves. I mean, if you rely on AI for creativity, because like I use AI to build a website, And it was just like asking me to put in a couple, narrations about the theme. And after I did that, it created such a beautiful thing that I could not even put together myself. And I just felt like, how you have a mentor and your mentor inspires you to raise the bar and get more creative and be more active, like a life coach that is like athletic and they're like, come on, be athletic too. It's like AI helps you to speed up the process of your creativity. But I felt like AI also reminded me of a calculator and smart text, right? Because I stop, the auto text, I definitely had an issue with, remembering how to spell certain words. I'm just going to put that out there. Because it's like the auto text just kind of puts it for you. So then when you're like writing with a real pen and real paper, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot how to spell that word. Because auto text has been doing it for you. So it's just like a calculator when you're like, oh yeah, what's 573 times 4? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I know I could do that on paper, but you're asking me to do it in thin air and I don't have the resources that I'm used to. And so I just feel like AI could definitely cause the population to kind of slow down in innovation because AI is creating the innovation. Does that make sense?
True piece. Yeah. You're bringing up a lot of like early thoughts that I had before AI even existed about the potential dangers of AI, and the whole idea of us losing our ability to write and to do the basic foundational math, on parchment, or even how to make your own paper, to be able to make your own pencils to do that, or ink, is kind of like the communication about our energy grid system and like how we're on coal, but then we're also trying to like switch to solar. And it's really part of the big conversation. And so it's like singularity is going back to the beginning of this communications, like to me, singularity is finding ourselves again and then being able to breathe with that artistic nature of ourselves, based on the Maslow hierarchy of needs, and then looking at that with the technology in play. Like even I've looked at it flipped over with technology. I've tried to evaluate what Maslow's hierarchy of needs would be as a civic participant with the world population and use of the web, and so that's been my kind of forward engagement approach to living life and speaking out and meeting people. And that's kind of how I got magnetized with the whole World Temple here. It's just kind of all part of the whole the nuance of things. True piece.
Yeah, I love it. You definitely meet a little bit of everybody up in here.
Islam. No, but I appreciate y'all contribution. Just for more clarity, the white paper is basically somebody putting together could be considered a small research paper, a thesis, or like an investment plan. It could also be an investment plan or used for investment. But just like sometimes they like real short. They're not too extensive. They not no 100-page document or anything like that.
Kind of like
Islam, go ahead.
I was just saying, kind of like a summary.
Right, yeah, right. Real summarized document, 110, probably like 30 pages at most. And, just giving you real quick, wham, bam, thank you.
Is that normally like geared towards institutionalized like businesses, or is it like for like the small, like a small mom and pop or restaurant business also? Or?
Yeah, anybody could technically anybody could technically utilize, whether it's individual, institution, so-called formally educated person or informal education. So it's something that's universal. But
just kidding.
No,
I know there's this company or networking company that came out called the Global Information Network, and I think I brought them up before in the past. But like they kind of came out with the whole MLM front, and they're doing the same thing as any networking company, selling audiobooks and people services, that's what makes it lively, is the people getting involved in that, and from different echelons and organizations, and kind of giving each other discounts and helping each other out. I don't know how big it is now. I don't know if it ever took off, and if companies ever did do that. But with the technology of things, getting to a legit heart of, a path of heart is I think what a lot of people are seeking, and we can only be able to individually define that for ourselves, because that's where the creativity and the freedom to be able to explore creativity comes in, So it's wondrous, true peace, planting seeds more or less here.
It's funny you said that, because I am in school and I'm working on the linear equations and the slope and the y-intercept. And I was just thinking, like, as you said that, how it comes from self, right? Remember how you're like putting stuff on a graph? Are you with me? And remember the x-axis and the y-axis?
Yeah.
With me? As far as slope. So while you're putting those 2 points, your first point on the graph, right? When you're graphing things out, your first point is your destination, where you believe you can go, right? But what if your second point was where God really wants you to land? And then you have a linear graph. It's like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Are you looking? Did I go too far?
Well, I don't know what Jonathan gets from that, but I
don't know.
To me, that brings.
I'm back in school, and I'm doing quantitative reasoning. And quantitative reasoning is just basically algebraic expressions within word problems, right? So the word problem is, what if you think you were such and such great, point X, right? And then on the graph, it's where God wants to lead you, is point Y. Remember the XY axis? Remember that? Remember? Graph?
Okay, so two keys would be the cube. All right, Lawiy. Lawiy can explain it.
Yeah, go ahead, Islam.
The cube, it's not just a square at that point, your XY axis, but you have a cube, and so like people have Blender now too. That's free, and that's a whole other communication. But yeah, I love it. It's like there's there's the order of Melchizedek, and then there's Abraham. There's the cube. I don't know how to. It's deep.
No, I already know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
I feel like I would be able to explain it one way, but it would only be a square.
The cube.
So, but the X and Y for me, based on what you said, and looking at it as kind of uncovering, like who you are in your journey. That's like Michelangelo's painting, where you have to put your, it's like reaching out, and you have the option to touch. Yeah. And that's every day. That's Jesus. That's Jesus is the sun. Every day is a new day, and rising with that, the grand rising. Yeah. But there's And
remember, how do you get the slope? Is the rise over the run. Remember the XY? Okay, I don't know if you guys remember algebra.
I'm big on 51%, 51, 40, 49. If I can maintain a 51% positive, nature, then I get a little bit of lift in life, and I'm not over exerting myself to where you're constantly stumbling back. But that's just my own personal theoretical kind of way of going about it.
By 1% is slow and steady, and as long as you're increasing in an upward, pattern, then you're making progress. And your progress, it's beautiful, because I feel as though sometimes we look at our progress and we look at our neighbors and then we check our progress, and we shouldn't do that. We should check our progress based on how we connect with the Most High. I really believe, because it's like, once you find peace, like whatever your peace is, go find it. And like, the way I find peace is not the way you find peace. You know what I mean? So that's why we're all individually special. And that is your signature. That is your starting point. That is your y-intercept. You know what I mean? To your x-axis.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I'm just sit back. I'm loving this. That takes us back to the science of the hypotenuse, with Don made reference to his order of Melchizedek, or order of booty. Now, sacred geometry is one of my things, so I love hearing people kind of converse about it. But actually getting into modern academics aspect of it, because what you're saying right now is something, like you say, you're studying and you're in school for this. So these are the things that a lot of these parapsychological conversations that are being had, or even theoretical conversations that are being had, these are the thought pieces that need to be, calculated and added into the mix, because this is where you get your astrophysics and all these other sciences from, is because you can take something like quantum, or you said quantitative reasoning, and then shift that into the school of thought of actual quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and all those other things, to where we getting into that spirituality conversation. So I definitely love what I'm hearing. This just show that you have intelligent people. You know what I mean? And sacred geometry, or geometry period, is a part of that. Islam.
Yes, geometry is everything. As above, so below. The moon and the sun. It's like the dance of life. And we all have witnessed a sun rising and a sun setting. And it's beautiful.
I got one question for y'all before we jump into this weekly reading. I do want to, at least, we might not read the whole. We might not finish chapter 39, put it off to the next week, but we at least will read one section before we jump to the whole instruction. But I do got a question for y'all. What are y'all perspective on this whole flat Earth thing? Does it hold any weight, or is it just straight hogwash? And after that, I'll give my final perspective on it, if y'all would like.
Okay, Jonathan, you going or I'm going?
Yeah, you might be better going first.
Okay. I feel like it's geometrical. Okay? Position 1 is 3D1. Position 2 is 3D2. And position 3 is 3D4. And position... Okay, so you get it, right? So different degrees of light, right? If you have a CD, right, and you put it flat, and there is a ray of light that hits it, it could be linear, but then if you get it at the right angle, it could create a 45 degree level of light around it. And then if you change a degree of light, it could create a 360 degree of light. Now, what do we know? We know that there is a place called Earth, and Earth has an atmosphere. But when you go into the atmosphere, like when you first approach the sphere, you can go into it without hitting anything solid, but from a distance, it looks solid. Yes? Yes?
Right.
Does it look like a complete solid ball? Yes or no? From a distance. Just like the moon.
That's right.
Are you with?
Yep.
Just when we look at the sun, we're like, oh, that's a whole thing over there, right? So the earth is a whole thing over there. I feel as though it is an amplification of its true form. Its true form is a sphere, but the greater form has layers to it. And I think that that's what, Genesis was talking about as far as the firmament, like there's levels to it, how we're talking about the ozone layer and beyond, And so I just feel as though the reflection of light really kind of determines the degree of depth of what you're penetrating, if that makes sense. So if you're far away, you're like, oh, I think it's really dense and really deep. But once you get past the first layer, you're like, oh my gosh, there was no wall. It was just air. And then you go deeper. And so then you get into the atmosphere of Earth, and you realize you were falling for so long until you hit the ground. And the ground that you hit, I believe, the mass of it all is round because like as above, so below. If you're looking at it from afar and it looks round, probably if you go within, it's round. But what you see is kind of not what you get, because we have a shield around us. We are a ball of stardust. We're a ball of stardust. And in the center, there is lava, which means we're a ball of stardust that's very hot in the center. Doesn't that sound like the body? And the temperature? 97 degrees. If you go outside and it's 97 degrees, do you think you may be sweating? And if it reaches 100, do you think you may be sweating? So in your core, if you are healthy, you are at 97 degrees, between 97 and 99. 99 is your borderline getting a temperature. You know what I mean? So, is it flat? I think there's flat spaces, but the whole of it, I think, is round because of the theory as above, so below. You look at the other planets, look at the thing that, makes the harvest grow, the seed grow. So, Ashe.
That's it.
Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, I've actually a long time ago, I was like, it's a globe. I'm gonna go simple at first here. I'll try to get complicated. But yeah, I was like, it's a globe, like a snow globe, and that way it's flat because, you have your, way to walk around, and then you got your dome on top, and then your other weather system dome on top, and then your other weather systems and whatnot. And in that, you got the Globetrotters, and that like makes me think of the spherical basketball, and it also kind of lets you work with the flat earthers and be like, yeah, it's a globe, and that way you're not really ideally getting into arguments, but people didn't really listen and they got in arguments anyways, and it's been 11 years people have been arguing about that. But I do think that what you said is truthful in how it resonates to being a sphere, where stardust, or what people would ashe, or what is it, skin, it's dust and clumps together, and that's your oil and your energy, refined. It's billions, trillions, it's ancient. And the water, I think what is it? There's been layers of, I don't know if it's ignorance or done on purpose to create energetic sparks within man. And there's a lot of things that have been done that needs to be organized. So there's just a lot of arguments that are going on back and forth needlessly about stuff that doesn't pertain. That's a blog post, and one and done, not something that's been going on for years as a discussion, I feel like. Eventually, what do they think about space elevators? People will be able to see. That'd be a cool idea, though. I like ideas like that. Space elevator.
I was in a discussion about it earlier, like I mentioned, the Flat Earth Foundation. So that made me want to just bring the thought here and see what you guys think. But I do have to say to Noble Simone, I haven't heard that level of intelligence. I haven't heard that level of intelligence in a while. It's just beautiful to hear, because it's an ancient conversation. It's an ancient debate, and this conversation has kind of been cleared up a long time ago. But for it to come back in a sense of we need to rebel against so-called powers that be, or the elitists, based on everything that they tell us. So even the understanding that we have of being able to do our own observational, observational discoveries and things like that, or theories, observational theories, it's clear to see that, like Sister Simone mentioned, we have, a spherical geometrical shape. When you look at any orb outside of the planet, whether it's the sun or the moon, or you get a telescope and look at the other planet, all of these orbs are, an orb is called an orb because it's circular or round, spherical. You even have a whole genre of math that's called, spherical math, or the thing is spherical theorems or something like that, or I can't remember the exact name, or spherical vortex math or spherical vortex theorem, however that goes. But then you have the science of the torus, all those things that kind of get into it on a mathematical aspect of it. But just, simple and plain, observational theory, because this is a lot of what the whole flat earth conversation is coming from. I haven't heard anyone use any actual, academic premise the way that Noble Simone just did, from starting off with, 3D1, 3D2, and actually getting into the geometrics of it, because we allow the conversations to be had because, everybody's entitled to their freedom of expression. But when it comes to trying to challenge something that is provable beyond a shadow of a doubt, it gets hilarious for me personally. But, it is a caveman conversation. I'll say a recessive caveman conversation, because all people came in and out of caves, or, have been in and out of caves, whether you're melanated or non-melanated. But recessive-wise, that is a recessive conversation because, as Jonathan just mentioned, you have the redundancy of the intelligence, the energy, and the connection, there too. And understanding that we live in an aquarium with different spheres, you have the atmospheres. That atmos is a gas, so we're in we're in the dimension of a flat plane, dimensionally wise. And when they say plane, you're talking about horizontal, flat surfaces, whether the topography of it is, curved and, have all these hills and, mountainous or whatever it might be. The topography could be whatever it is, but when you're talking dimensions, length, width, and height, and depth, that it's only going to give you these geometrical concepts. We have a radius, a straight line, a point, those type of things. So to hear Noble Simone come with that level of intelligence, I'm just I'm just like, yes, Lord, thank you, Lord. The things I heard over this past week, man, from the observational theory standpoint, it'll blow y'all mind. The reasons why the flat earthers think the earth is flat. And as I was having a conversation with or listening to the conversation, one brother was having a sentiment of saying, if the earth is flat, why can't we walk to the moon? Or why can't we walk toward the sun? Or walk toward these other planets if they're flat? And just to hear the beauty of, the intelligence level to where we understand that, when it comes to, geometrical understanding, that planes and dimensions, they have their flat surface, or the elastic universe and or the flat universe. It's called the flat universe, not the flat earth. They should look more into that. Or the fact that we could have, space travel. This whole, debunking NASA and all these other issues for why the earth is flat, the maps that they kind of create that don't have no correlation to what the actual real maps look like, and trying to debunk things that's been proven, which you can prove on your own. You just take a rocket, independently, get your permits and things like that, send it up into space, put a camera on that thing, and you can see whether the earth has a curvature, and those other things. But I just love what I heard, because if we can't understand prisms and these geodesic shapes and how they play into life, understand that we have an atmosphere of gases, or it's just spheres of gases that are layered, right? And then when you get down to the flat surface, the flat plane of the earth, this is why it's called planes, because they're either flat or that level of dimension that has a solidary measure to it, because we go through those states: liquid, solid, and gases. So those things that are from the higher levels of the gaseous state, that becomes a vapor of the liquid, that are the clouds and things like that, down to the solids. I'm just glad we still got intelligence, man. I had to ask, because we having an AI conversation. We have these conversations that are supposedly of the future. I feel like that's a caveman conversation, like John did just referred to as a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. It shouldn't be even brought up again. But it's just an example of these conspiracy theories that are not conspiracies no more. They're the old conspiracy theories is moving in, or theorists, they're moving into the space of realism. And the conspiracy theories of the day is getting, crazy. Go ahead, John. You want to say something?
No, I don't think it should be like one. Like, I think that people should be able to express themselves about it. But what you're saying about the spheres, I think it should be expounded upon, because everyone has different spheres of influence, and like, we're not talking about just one world sphere, which we are, but that one world sphere has a lot of different layers. And one of the aspects of those layers is rain, and why does it rain? And for me, like, I know that there's really intelligent frameworks already in place, and there's also a level of seeing that certain things just don't feel right, look right, and I've researched and traversed long enough on that path to know it ain't right. And there's something better, something more.
Islam. But that's why you have the alternative science, such as what we kind of go into here. Oh, man, what was that? Oh, blew my mouth. That's why you have the alternative sciences, especially the natural philosophy and the new logical way of thinking. Like I said, we should be grounding ourselves in. That was new logical way of thinking that you're gravitating toward. The ways Noble Simone expresses herself is in a new logical way. So as we emit the frequency, hopefully others will catch it, like you said, from the different spheres of thought. But it is, their sphere of thought that
it is an old logical way. My way is old logic. And so if the replays are on, let the replays know that I said that is an old ancient logic that is embedded in my DNA. The knowing of the now, the instinct of the present, the instincts that are give me the courage to say no, yet let your yeses be your yeses and your noes be your noes. And to have the courage to stand up for yourself and have the courage when someone speaks upon your name and they are incorrect, and you have the courage to say, no, no, no. Okay? What I'm saying is something from my dreams. It's just coming from the knowing. And those are my instincts. Those come from my temple. And so it's funny, you can change your name all day, but they know your voice.
You know your master by his signature. That's right, his line.
So again, I just feel like that is the beautiful thing that is connecting us, is the love of knowledge. God is love, but we perish for the lack of knowledge. So we come together because we're trying to seek the knowledge, and we are respectable. We are respecting each other's word by giving each other, the room to say our part, say our piece, speak your piece. You speak about me and it's incorrect. I have to have the courage to say, no, that is incorrect. Love you still. But at the end of the day, it's not a new thing. It's a thing that's been within me for a while. It's the old knowledge of my spirit. I mean, can you relate?
Well, I don't know if you mean like when I say new logical, as far as like something new. New logical means NOO logical. That means you're thinking from the divine principle thing, not just modern day research and stuff like that, or observational theory.
Yeah, and also the newology, which you had put me on, was basically being a naturalist, and I'm definitely co-signing on being natural, because when you step away from the chemicals, when you step away from the organized religion, when you step away from the things that are just handed to you, and you find your own way, it's such a beautiful thing, because your yeses become more firm and your no's become more firm because you found your own way.
No, I was trying. I don't know if it probably came through clear or not, but I was saying that the thought frame for us is more of a natural philosophy way, or I'm just saying new logical, because they say thinking logic. But as far as just regular logic, we're not using just regular logic. We're using that ancient, that divine, divine logic that we know. Like we're talking about geometry, these divine sciences. So from that aspect, because we're grounded. Like I mentioned this earlier. I don't know if you was in the room when I said it earlier, but we're grounded in the divine knowledge, the divine sciences, versus just giving a premise or a thesis on modern research, or some philosophers from 100 years ago. We're going back into actual sciences that are grounded from time immemorial, or advanced intelligence. And you express that beautifully, and Jonathan does too. So I was just saying, from us here, from the temple, that's more of our perspective to the world. This is the energy that we omit to the world, and other different spheres of thought, like Jonathan mentioned. That actually gets a chance to hear us and gravitate towards us. This is what we're standing on. We're standing on that natural philosophy, or that divine natural, divine nature of philosophy, or just way of thinking in general. And this is what we're expressing. So, and I'm glad you did say that, because it allows me to add on and say that this is not something that people could put in a box. The way that we, express ourselves, or the messages that we bring to the table or omit, these are divine, intelligences communicating through us, and using us as the instrumentalities to really get people to understand the divine transmissions that come about, and ground ourselves in what reality is. Like, we know we have the three great realities, while people run around thinking the world is some type of simulation, and or some type of virtual reality type thing. And we understand that this is divine and organic creation at its height. So
I think that the holographs, though, like, are you into that? Like the holographs? I mean, if you're talking about light, right? There's a reflection to it. Like, I have a reflection. And so I don't know much about it, but just touching on the theory of reflection and how the as above, so below, it just sounds like a reflection. The holographic world, I don't know much about, but I wouldn't be surprised if technology, and definitely because we're speaking about AI, the holographic world is definitely, I mean, look at TV, right? Am I alone? Look at TV.
No.
Able to do with light. You know what I mean? So it's like, look where we are now. What kind of people would we be in 50 years with that type of technology?
Yeah, I didn't go into detail, Islam. I didn't go into detail last week, but I can say I like gazed across it, because I did bring up the different lights last week. But holographic or hologrammic, either or, is just hollow, which means, whole, and then gram, or graphic, which is image, and or gram, a message. So you're basically either discussing things in a whole message, or giving a whole image, as the statement goes, created after my image and after my likeness. So I definitely resonate with you on the whole holographic thing. That's actually one of the sciences that we get into from the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek perspective of things. So I don't really kind of dive too much into it, but that's one of the things that you kind of get from a theoretical sense when you really dive into the holy tablets, and you just get into the, looking at the information that you could extract from the pictures itself, because how was these pictures created, and things like that. And I went into a lot of it last year when I got into talking about automatic writing and autographic illustrations, because that's basically what a lot of the downloads that people call downloads from spirit or from the divine creator, those are holographic messages or hologram. And like they put in Star Wars, that's a real technology. Those are one of the AI technologies that's not necessarily so too much AI. It's kind of like in between both, right? Because just as well as you have artificial intelligence, right, you have organic intelligence or divine intelligence. You have DI or OI, like the ion or the off and on switch, which is the reason why alchemically or alphametically, if you look into the ruins and the scripts and things like that, that's the reason why it gets into that, because the 1 and the 0, the binary code, all of those things tie up, from the script of nature itself. So when you start getting into like the fractals, the mathematics and the science of the fractals and all that, and go even deeper, this is kind of what we're getting at, and we have the ability to send each other holographic thought images or telepathic messages, because when you start speaking, I see, or should have the ability through my mental, not my mental, but my brain processor, to formulate that image of the things that you're talking about and what you're describing. And that is, something that I'm actually referring to when I do say new logical way of thinking, because we should be able to be on the same page. That's why I always, kind of start off with the basic square of communication before we get into like this advanced conversation, because a lot of things get lost in translation or lost in semantic, when in actuality, if we was all on the same page of understanding the actual structure of the liberal arts or the sacred arts and the divine science, or the academic portion of it, we would be able to understand each other way more and be able to stay on the same page, because I would be able to pick up holographically what you're communicating and be able to process it through my mind's eye. So that gets into lasers and all those different type of things with the eyes, but that's something that we really go in depth and is taught in the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek. So for me, and I know Jonathan probably resonate with it too, but for us, that's also part of the things that we was talking about, because you got your holographic earth that that comes up in the whole alternative history or knowledge of things. And if you take the baby with the bath, if you take the baby out, you can't throw the baby out with the bath water, as the saying goes. So you gotta take the bones and take the meat and throw away the bone. So the things that make sense that come with alternative history and alternative knowledge, that's a part of that. So it with the greater comes the lesser. So you have to be able to be into that. So it'd be funny seeing people or hearing people that don't really have a resonation with that, because like the things that we're going into, you have to get into to studying holograms or studying the holographic. Go ahead, Dr.
Islam. Yeah, the virtual reality is like a space that I've grown up with in many ways. Not virtual reality, but just like looking at a computer screen and being, part of these games, and then eventually getting involved with people online and playing the video games. And I think it was probably around 2006, I was going to a community college, and they wanted us to write this paper about social issues. And I actually picked, for my paper, was EverQuest and how it was addictive and how people would play it like nonstop. Now, mind you, this didn't detract me from playing video games in the future, but it definitely, like, I had quit that game by this time, and it definitely, like, from the research, made me aware of what was going on in the early stages of technology and social interactions with one another. At least, I got the enjoyment of playing a game with wizards and stuff. Now people are stuck in different social advertising websites and different things going on that doesn't necessarily meet the greater whole. And I don't know if the companies have been thinking in that light or not. There's been not necessarily a lot of transparency with the governments, and my view has been, I think everybody's been looking up to the IT guys, and the IT guys are just looking to get their paycheck, installing stuff. And so we kind of all have to kind of learn to appreciate, what it is, and figures, paths of art. True peace.
Islam. We need our IT guys, because I mentioned here before, a part of Newlogy is understanding technology as well. And the tech people are more so like the face creators. They create the faces for the things that we talk about, whether it's geometry, whether it's social systems, or finance, whatever, economics. They create those graphs. They create the kind of like what Simone is talking about tonight, quantitative reasoning. Going from the mathematical portion back to the the word portion, back to the codex, and then putting that codex into an interface that makes up the numbers, that makes up the word, and it might be the words of the computer and the script of the computer, but then that creation gives you a user face that's easier for the person that, that's not groomed in those type of those type of skill sets. So, it's definitely a need, and being able to understand, how we all function together in that way, it's definitely a need, because it's just, we have to be, we have to be able to kind of balance things out with that divine perspective, because, simulations and video games, those things are needed. They can be harmful, just like anything else. If you abuse it, if you overindulge in it, it can be harmful. But, the stimulation that you get from the playing the game, it can be used in its proper manner, because we all need an endorphin hit, but then you don't want to have too much of an endorphin hit, dopamine. I mean, have a dopamine hit. So it's about that balance. Islam.
Books are the same way, and like what you just mentioned about the Nuo's mindset made me think of reading a book. And like when reading a book, sometimes you get these deep visions, almost like you're inside the author's head, like you're living part of their vision, or that's just your own mirror interpretation of that vision, And so in that, it makes me also think of like, have you guys ever heard, or have y'all ever heard of the that saying a long time ago where people would think that their souls were being taken if you took a photograph of them, or that they're you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. Yeah, so like the holographic and like all that, that's I think what like is really on the table here, and that's what people are discussing. So, and yeah, I don't know. That whole thing.
Yeah, I've actually seen real life 7D, from 4D, 5D, and all the way up to 7D holographic technology. The whole Tupac concert that they did a while back, they still using a lot of holographic technology in these these music concerts. So it's definitely something that's being used. Now, as far as its advancements go, with the levels that we are able to use it at, this is what I keep kind of pushing the narrative for when I keep, just, pressing the button on us getting new logical. Because, like I said earlier, we should be able to send those holographic telepathic thoughts to each other, where we can send whole messages to each other, and, they not be interrupted by all the microwaves and all the, other waves of influences that pushes through. But these waves of these whole messages that we're sending to each other, they're actually wholesome messages. I mean, I think I mentioned a portion of this before, but us having an open discussion about it, I don't think we had an open discussion about it like we have now. But I do appreciate the contributions, y'all. I want to hold y'all all night. We did come a little late, so I don't want to go over the time. At least trying to get us to 9:30, but I know we do got to get this one section off, so I'm gonna jump into this last section here from El's Holy Quran. Then we're gonna get into the Holy Instruction, and we're gonna close out for the night. I do appreciate the contributions, and it's always a beautiful moment when the nobles stop through. And y'all go check out that YouTube. We're gonna be creating more content, and eventually, doing the video streams of the sermons, and it's a lot more coming for sure. Like we said earlier, slow progress is better than no progress. And we talk about this, or rather progress slow. That way, what we build up could stick around for a long time. So with that, y'all, let me jump into this section of El's Holy Quran real quick, which we left off on last week. Which the section Moshe giving the law, and his request to the source. And let's see what messages they have for us here for this week. Does it resonate with anything we talked about? Which is pretty good, because I already see the title of the section. But as it states in the ayat, and we, the Anunnaki, promised Moshe 30 shadow hour period and completed it with 10 more. So he completed the 40 shadow hour period. Moshe was up on Mount Sinai for 40 shadow hour period where he received the written commandment. Appointed by his Rab, Musa, Moshe said to his brother Harun or Aaron, be my successor, Khalifa, in my nation and act righteous. And don't follow the path of the mischief maker. And when Moshe came to our, not my, the Elohim's appointment, and his is not our sustainer, who is Ra, spoke unto him, he the Elohim Moshe said, my Ra, make yourself appear to me, so that I will be able to look towards you physically. He not we, or Yahweh said, you will not be able to see me, but look at the mountain, Ba'ini. So if it stands firm in its place, you will see me. So when his Rab, who is sustainer, did Tajala manifest, Lijabali, to the mountain, and he made it as dust, and Moshe fell down, fainted, dumbfounded. So when Moshe recovered, he said, glory be to you, I repent to you, and I am the first of those to be faithful. And he said, O Moshe, surely I not we, have chosen you over all the Inosites by way of my message, the laws, and by way of my word, commandment. So take what I, not we, have given you, and be grateful, and be of the grateful. And we not I, the Elohim Anunnaki, wrote for him Moshe and Al-Awa, the tablets from everything, a doctrinal exhortation and details of all things, warnings, laws, and commandments. So take it, the Torah, or Torah, with force, and command your Moshe kindred to take the best way. Keep the laws of the Torah, its best. I not we, the source, will show you all the abode of the transgressor, those Inosites who say the original Torah is not to be followed. So I not we, will turn those who are arrogant in the planet Tiamat away from my sign, without the truth, facts beyond any doubt, and if they see all the signs, they will not have faith in it. And if they see the path of the righteous, they won't take it as a path. And if they see the path of transgression, they will take it as a path. That is because they denied the Elohim signs, and they were negligent about it. And as for those who deny the Elohim signs in the meeting of the end, their works are futile. Should they be rewarded except for what they have done? So that's that section. I think we did read that section. I'm not too sure. So I'll read this last speech right here, which is a real short section. It's called The Israelites Started to Worship the Golden Calf, which we should be familiar with this story. And the ayats read, the kindred or Israelites after him made from their ornaments a calf after Moshe went up into the mountain to pray. Its body made a mooing sound. Could they not see that surely it, the golden calf, symbol of Hathor, the Egyptian deity, could not speak to them, and it could not calm them to the right path? They, the Jacobites or Israelite, took it and were of those who are in a state of injustice. And when they, the children of Israel or Jacob, were made to see how what they made the golden calf with their own hands, how it made them fall from the path. Surely they had indeed gone astray into error. They, the children of Israel or Jacob, said, if our Rab does not yield to us and give us verily, and forgive us, verily we will be of those overcome by defeat, the loser. And when Moshe returned to his kindred, the 12 tribes of Israel, Moshe became very angry and filled with regret and grief. Moshe said, this is wicked of the devil. What have you done behind my back, that you allowed to come into the camp after I left? So you want to command of your Rab to come quick. And then Moshe, threw the tablet, the 2 scrolls taken from the Enuma Elish and Gilgamesh tablet, each containing 5 letters down. And Moshe, took Haran, his brother, by the head and pulled him to him. Haran said, son of my mother, Jochebed, surely the kindred, the Jacobites, the Israelites, made me become weak and plotted to kill me. So don't allow the enemies to rejoice over my weakness, and don't make me to be of the kindred, Zalimim, who are unjust. Islam. So we're going to stop right there, pick up next week, because this chapter 39 is kind of long chapter, so probably get through it next week. But I'm going to go ahead and switch the link at the top of the room so we can get into our holy instructions and close out for the night. But like I said, I don't keep us here all night. I appreciate the very beautiful conversation we had. This is one of the classic. I think people can come back and listen to these replays, especially from YouTube. And we're gonna be growing real rapidly here as we continue to go. I've been kind of putting some promo behind it.
Is this what episode? I know that 71, 72, 73 were really amazing also, so I don't know what number we're on here tonight.
I think we close to 80, because we did at least, I think this is like our 4th holy day after the Clubhouse update, because I know they did the update, so we should be on like 4th, so we around like 78, close to 70. I know at least 77, 78, 79 in between there.
It's definitely been heating up. It's been good.
Islam. We creating great content, and definitely gonna get more beautiful there. So
and that's what I'd like
with
to
that,
see.
We're gonna talk.
The whole white papers, people working with AI, coming up with like businesses, and the whole networking should come alive, I would think. I just don't know. I just don't know how the money involved with people getting involved with that is integrated. And so,
you're gonna. I mean, from the position that in role you've been playing, just stick around. You'll get more in depth on it, and see, just the integrity that we maintain with the finances, and because we really haven't been utilizing the dollar too much for anything other than donations and things like that, and we really haven't got into having our big donors and just making the big financial moves that we have planned to do. Because as we talked about before, we've been in development stage with a lot of stuff. So
yeah, blockchain and Bitcoin is still like it hasn't really hit that first stage. It's still in that preliminary, I would say, beta mode. It's still in a beta stage, and I think there's it should pop, right?
Yep. Because as we get more people that gravitate with the message that we produce here, it's just gonna be more people involved. And I didn't mention it this week, but we are building out the Royal Council. So more people that comes into the Royal Council takes upon the roles of the Royal Council. Those that are divinely guided to be here and that know they're supposed to be here, they're gonna come. And it's just gonna be growth from there. But like I said earlier, slow progress better than no progress.
I will say that whenever you say that all the best Moors are in the church, I don't know, I get like a really good tingle in my spine. So I don't know why, but it rings true to me.
Islam, because them people are looking for the wholesome message, that holographic or that hologram, the gospel, the Nuwabu, the doctrine of sound wisdom, whatever you want to call it, the gospel of the sons of man. However they want to make reference to it, you get what I'm saying? This is it. So it resonates, but we're coming at it from the new logical perspective. So it's gonna be something they're not used to. Gonna be something unique that people adapt to and understand. But it attracts people from all backgrounds, whether they coming from the alternative understanding, the unorthodox or the orthodox, and it it touches on both spirit info.
For me, the Shekinah, like I've done a few different churches in my youth, growing up with family, but Shekinah is the one that resonates. The early forms of what that church was. I can't remember the name of what that means, but there's a word for it, that I think just resonates. I don't know, for some reason it just popped in my head. All right, true peace. Thank you for tonight service. It was awesome.
Thank you. Now I know what you mean by Shekinah, though. I used to saying that word a lot. Yeah, that's just they glorify the divine presence, or the light, as they call it. The second is more taught by Hebrews or Jewish, but second, that's the same thing, saying the nullity, as we're saying now.
Yeah.
The concept of light.
Yes. Thank you.
Or you can even say like house, the second house. Like my name Shamuel means house. Or the rocket ship. Those are the rocket ship, or those up there, hell. So same thing. Means dwelling, settler, settler. Same temple, tabernacle, or the spirit that have you change to, or the dwelling place of God. But let's get into these holy instructions, Noble. I appreciate you as well. Appreciate everyone that came through, stopped by, or they just listened to a portion. Also, that made contributions. And we're gonna get into a lot more here during our current events, especially about the contributions that are being made, and having an opportunity to speak for at least 15 minutes. Add to the holy sermon for that night, the Hikmah for that night. And like I said, we just keep building and creating the content creators, and we support each other, build this community of of the new logical way of thinking. The spirit of newlogy as an official genre as ourselves, but we go through the proper channels to make these things official. So that means getting involved with political organization and educational organization that give accreditation. So with that, let's jump into these holy instructions. We went over our civic virtues, which is cultivation of habits that are important for the success of the community. We discussed that. We went into the civil society and laws and codexes and things like that earlier. And civic engagement, which is the process of coming together, having discussions, how we go about, taking collective action to address these things, sort of like a congressional meeting or things like that, that's done in politics, which is also technically what we have here too as well. But it's more of an open meeting for the temple and the whole body of the members, or what you would call the temple citizens or civilians of the temple. So with that, we're going to jump into these holy instructions. As y'all know, Friday is the holy day. Oh, you who know, when the call is proclaimed, supplication on Friday, the day of assembly, hasten earnestly to the remembrance of the Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, and leave off business and traffic. That is best for you if but new. And when prayer is finished, then may ye disperse through the land and seek the bounty of God and celebrate the praises of God of 10 and without stint, that ye may prosper. All chapters and temple services and meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father cut law. For that cause Friday is our holy day for all Muslims and peacemakers all over the world. This is according to Act 2 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws by the Prophet Noble Ali, which states all temples and supporting temples are to conduct holy day service every Friday, starting promptly at their respective time and ending promptly at their respective time. All civilians, patrons, denizens, prospects, and ministers are expected to attend the temple for the Friday holy day service and meeting. On Fridays, the Moorish American, Moorish Asian, and Moorish African Muslims and peacemakers all come together to supplicate and to illustrate Allah's blessing. The temple services are open according to divine love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. At no time will templars, adepts, ministers, patrons, or outside congregational guests be allowed to disrupt the holy day service. Nor will civilians be admitted under the influence of alcohol or any civilian intoxicant. All templars, adepts, and civilians attending the holy day service must have their heads covered with either a turban, fez, or kufi, or spiritual covering. Baseball caps should not be worn in the temple or during temple service. The Sunday school temple service and meeting is mandatory in all Moorish national temples, and temple denizens must promptly attend the temple service and send their children to the Sunday school gatherings. The teacher must conform himself and herself to the Temple 101 questionnaire and let every civilian man, woman, and child exercise his or her 5 senses, who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation and now the entire global village. According to Act 5 of the additional laws by the Prophet Noah, every subordinate temple should have 2 Sunday school gatherings held. The first meeting should be held 1 to 2 hours before the adult service. Children's Sunday school should be conducted by a director of the Children's Sunday School and program. The Sunday school gathering is designed to assist the temple in learning the Temple 101 questionnaire and developing an understanding of just what holy keys mean and how they ought to be applied to our everyday life. The divine constitution and bylaws, along with the Moorish prayer, the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nation, El's Holy Injiyl, El's Holy Qur'aan, and the civic editions or lessons of the Holy Temple of Moorish Science are also subjects of major concern for the apprentice who is trying to complete his or her mandatory requirements for pronouncing their temple civilianship and global nationality. All lessons for the adult Sunday school gathering must be prepared by a Grand Sheik, divine minister, or an assistant Grand Sheik. Lessons called by us Novites editions may be submitted to the apprentice for completion and returned to the temple. Once the lessons are completed and graded, they must be placed in the active members' temple district file. The Sunday school temple service and meeting is a wonderful opportunity to study the liturgy teachings of the prophet. No civilian is to become disruptive during the Sunday meeting. All templars must bring paper and pen to the temple service and meeting along with the basic temple literature and assignment. No templars or patrons to eat food or other snacks during the temple service or meeting, but water is permitted. All templars must attend their Sunday temple service and meeting as diligently as they attend their holy day temple service and meeting. Both are called out for by the Prophet Gabriy'El and is required as a matter of temple law. According to the Divine Constitution, Act 7 in part, all templars must promptly attend their temple services and meet to become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science of America, and now also the Moorish Science of Africa, the Moorish Science of Asia, and adjoining world islands on behalf of all indigenous people. For membership, any heads of all temple jurisdictions are not to charge for naturalization or overcharge for cards, buttons, or anything issued by it through the prophet. Those who contribute to any of the proceedings are not Moors, civilians, or patrons, but robbers. Temple nationality and membership in the Holy Temple's vast estate, public beneficiary trust, sisters and brothers, kin and kinfolk is free, not only here but all over the world. All kin and kinfolk desiring to become a civilian of a subordinate temple must follow these instructions from the temple secretary and acquire the application for naturalization, which is on our temple website. Get together, here. The secretary of the temple's jurisdiction will help all newcomers by explaining the naturalization affidavit and application for membership in the temple's vast estate or public beneficiary trust to the new prospective civilian of the temple vast estate or public beneficiary trust, and arranging for him or her to be consulted by the royal council of said temple or subordinate temple. The royal chairman or woman will set the date for the new temple prospect to be interviewed by the royal council. The new temple court civilian, upon completion of the royal council consultation at the newcomers gathering, Sunday school gathering on Sunday, the new templars will proclaim their temple nationality at the next upcoming holy day temple gathering. After the new civilian prospect proclaims his or her nationality, they will be given the mandatory requirements necessary to earn their free national name and royal title of nobility as a true American royal. These requirements are as follows and in accordance with Chapter 47 of the Moorish Circumscribed Holy Qur'an, called Egypt, the capital domain of the Empire of Africa. Chapter 25 of the Moorish Qur'an, called the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nation. The Moorish prayer, including the 101 Qur'an questions for Moorish Americans, Asians, and Africans. The Divine Constitution and Bylaw, the additional laws, and the precepts, statutes, and ordinances from El's Holy Torah, El's Holy Injiyl, El's Holy Qur'an, the Holy Tabernacle Family Guide, and also the Holy Tab through our Civic 201 court in the Global Interdependent School District and Sacred Halls of Learning, which is called New University by us with the Holy Temples or sign for every one of the global village. Once a new civilian or templars has learned these additions or lessons verbatim or to the best of their ability, he or she will be interviewed by the Temple's Royal Council as the chaplaincy to determine if the new civilian is qualified to represent himself or herself as a faithful Moorish American, Moorish African, and Moorish Asian Muslim and any indigenous peacemaker, and communicated to the ignorant for their instructions and communicated to the wise for thine own improvement. Once the new civilian or template has cleared the mandatory requirements with the Royal Council, he or she will be naturalized by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister of said subordinate temple. True peace. So this is the process of proclaiming your nationality, not all this paperwork process stuff people come up with, UCCs and all those things. And you have HR 0689 behind you. So you have a lot of statutory things that's been, codified and put into resolutions, and that are public acts that are done for you. So let's jump into our next portion called the Holy Shahada, which is the proclamation of nationality, procedure, and pronunciation of one's nationality that will be held on Holy Day for all civilians, denizens, templars, peacemakers, or Muslims all over the world. During the ceremony, the new civilian or templars will be ordained an El Bay or Day and given his or her royal peerage title of kin, honorable, lady, noble, nin, naya, prince, or princess by a grand sheik and or divine minister, and also receive his or her nationality card and button from the divine minister of the Grand Major Temple. Upon conclusion of the nationality proclamation, the grand sheik and divine minister will have the civilian templars or templates and temple prospect stand while he or she reads the authority of the Moorish Temple of America. It is by virtue of the Religious Corporation Act document that can be found in her by statute that gives the Moorish Temple of America, Asia, and Africa the authority to restore the nationality and birthrights of the lost Asiatics of America, Asia, Africa, and all world islands, and give them the title to their vast estate and their heritage. The Grand Sheik and or Divine Minister is to read from the card and have the new national state, Allah is God, and Noble Jali the Prophet, and I am Moorish American, African, or Asian, and or world island. This is our Moorish clarification of faithful Shahada and our national pledge of allegiance. The new civilian or Templar's pre-national name should be then added to the Temple's Book of Life as they enroll in the Civics 101 course and our complimentary World Civics Club. The nationality ceremony should be conducted by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister or any other Divine Minister so designated by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister in his or her time of absence, and most notably by the Assistant Grand Sheik and Divine Minister. The nationality card and naturalization application must be signed bearing the name and title of the Grand Sheik or Divine Minister who issued the card, who issued the application and card, and the date of its issuance. The Religious Corporation Act has deemed the Global Interdependent School District and the Incorporated and Chartered Moorish Temple of America, Africa, and Asia as a religious trust and theocratic government established in 1928 on August 20th. This religious trust is the true global trusteeship system for the Holy Family of Nations, forming the global nucleus, Islam. So with that, y'all, we're going to jump into our closing literature. Take us on home real quick. Get our last contributions because I don't want to run it too over. At least not over 10 o'clock yet, though. I do appreciate the contributions. I had a chance to have some great dialogue here tonight. So we're going to close out the literature.
Yeah, it was good to have Amora in here to be able to create a smooth way of expressing some really highly technical stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yes, indeed, Islam. I love when no mom comes through. Islam, she always brings some divine value, divine equity to the space. So we're not going to go into all of the messages that we use going through. We're going to do the mandatories. We're going to close it out with prayer after this. Take it on home. So the prophet wants us to read this in every temple service and temple meeting. It's the warning to all peacemakers and Muslims. The prophet said, I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the street. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your card at Europeans, it causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Fail to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, true peace, freedom, and justice, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant or the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deed. All true Moors will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their cards, but cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found them. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. True peace, Noble Jali. So, in between that, we go ahead and extend the olive branch and click that block of words at the top that says World Temple. Join us. I got to reach out to some people. Haven't got a chance to reach out to them just yet, but we will be doing that. I'm in between doing a lot of other things here on my end. So we're going to get into this last mandatory piece of literature, and this is to be proclaimed at every temple meeting and temple service. Islam, The prophet said, I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting fund. The ones that paid their divine respect to me in the movement will be remembered. That's why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world would not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my work, which I have performed in the past 2 years. Prophet, Royal. So, if y'all want to donate or contribute, anything like that, click the link that was pinned up at the top of the room earlier. It has the Patreon link on there. Go ahead and make your contributions through there. But with that, we're going to get into this prayer. Appreciate y'all coming through. Y'all know how it goes. Facing the east, feet at a 45-degree angle. 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Ali. Amen. True peace, y'all. Happy holy day once again. Enjoy the rest of the night with y'all family. Appreciate you, Brother Jonathan. Appreciate you, Noble.
Thank you.
Simone. And much love to y'all. Wadu. Hua.